At the end of last year, when I decided that I wasn't going to entertain the idea of going back to digital marketing consulting, I had to make a decision that would prevent me from doing that, because I knew that I was in a fortunate position where my network was big enough that work was coming to me. I didn't have to seek it out. And so I knew that in the near future, I would be faced with opportunities to make money through digital marketing consulting. And I knew also that I didn't really have a solution for how to make money yet. So I could easily figure out that if I came into a situation where money on the bank was low and I was offered work with consulting work that I could do easily, make good money off, then naturally it would be easy to say yes. I knew that because I have been a freelance consultant for quite a while, and I have somewhat tried to balance between building a software startup when I was building Omni and doing freelance consulting work. Finding the balance there was difficult, because when I was offered work where I could make a lot of money, I almost felt like I had to take it. First of all, because you don't really know when work is coming again, and you need to fund this startup that we were bootstrapping. But you also end up taking in more work, and when you do that, you have to sacrifice your time you're spending somewhere else that actually makes you happier and has a higher chance of giving you a future that you're dreaming of. So from that experience, I knew that if I even gave myself the slightest opportunity to say yes to just a little bit of work, or just enough work to pay the bills, or whatever that was, then it would be a slippery slope for me to just kind of keep taking the next and the next and the next job. And I just knew with myself that if I did that, then I wouldn't give myself the best circumstances to figure out what it is that I actually want to do with my life, and double down on that and bet 100% on my ability to figure that out. Instead, I would be kind of keeping myself in a safe space where I know how to get by, I know how to make money, I know how to do it efficiently, but in a space that is draining me, that is contradictory to my way of identifying with myself, to my identity. And it would keep me in a place also where I wouldn't be proud of myself, because what I needed was to get away from that. And so staying in that would keep me in sort of a loop that could turn into a downward spiral, but also a loop that didn't set me free to experience what it's like on the other side of that. So my commitment to not making money off marketing consulting again was kind of my extreme way of making it very, very clear for myself that there's no middle ground, that I don't want to take a simple step onto that, what could become a slippery slide, because I know what's at the end of that. I've been there before. So when I'm in conversations with friends or family, a lot of people don't really understand that. And now that I'm getting to a place where money is tight and where I'm currently figuring out how exactly to deal with that, and I still don't have a solution that I know works, this is part of the solution I'm trying to make for myself. But in conversations with friends and family who know that I can deliver this service that people want to pay money for, and I can get work easily, they just have no understanding for the fact that I'm turning that down in this position that I'm in. And I have really a difficult time explaining that to people. I can't explain it any better than I just did. And I don't know if there's something wrong or odd with me where I just have to do this in a, now I'm calling it an extreme way, but in a committed way. Otherwise, I know that I will fall back into the old patterns. It's kind of the same thing if you're trying to stop drinking alcohol or going out in the weekends. The best way is to just not drink the first beer, at least for me, right? Where some people may be able to go from having a problem with something to then just, turning it down a notch. For me, it's like, it's the cold treatment. I have to get away from it completely, otherwise I'm getting swallowed in. And I'm also not compounding the effects that happens on the inside when you actually make a decision that is right for you. And I think what I mean by that is the amount of confidence and self-worth that I have gained from making such a difficult decision of letting completely go of something that was paying the bills for me, something I was good at, something I was recognized for, just dropping that completely, right? That has given me just a lot of self-worth, because I know that I'm worth more than that. I know that I'm worth so much more than what other people currently are willing to give me credit for. I just have to find it. I have to make a journey through going from where I was to going to become the person that I have to be, to begin to leverage that I have inside, which I know that I have inside. I think it's going to be a matter of time before I'm able to show that I can actually do this, and people around me will start to understand why I had to take that big of a leap. But it is difficult, especially because in the process of making a plan for dealing with this situation, I've had to think through what happens if I don't succeed with my current plan, which is doing one-to-one coaching. There is a scenario where in a couple months I haven't succeeded with this, and I'm faced with the fact that I wouldn't be able to pay my bills going forward if I don't make money somehow. And at that point, I have to figure out, what is the step when that happens, if it happens? Is it compromising on my integrity towards the decision I've made towards not doing any marketing consulting again? Or is my solution to go back to the thing that came before marketing consulting, which was working as a manual labor craftsman at my dad's plumbing business? Could that be a solution? Would I be okay with that? Would I rather do that than compromise my integrity on what I have promised myself? And I think I would. I think I'd rather go a couple months doing manual labor work, even though it's not glamorous, even though it's definitely not what I want to spend my time on. And also, even though it would be way less money per hour than I could earn as a freelance consultant, but I still think that it's more aligned with what I want to do than going back to consulting. And it's the only way really where I can maintain my integrity towards myself and I can keep compounding my self-worth, because I know that I have to go through difficulty to get to the place I want to go to. So I think right now that's the more appealing option. If everything fails, I'm going to have to give my dad a call, and I'm going to have to ask him if he wants to hire me on part-time or full-time or whatever that is. And then I'm going to have to spend my 7-8 hours a day doing manual labor work to pay the bills. And then I'll have to figure out on the outside of that how I'm going to make this other thing work. And that will be a compromise. And this is also just one option that I know of. It could be plenty more, and I'm going to exert all the possibilities when I get closer if I haven't solved it yet. But I think it still speaks volumes to me that I'm actually well prepared to go back to where I was at 21. It's almost 10 years ago I was working for my dad. And I think most people would feel like that's a massive failure. That's going, back. That's not the way to do it. But I think it might be the way to do it for me. And it's not that I'm going to stay there permanently. That's not my intention at all. But if that is my lowest, then I'll take it. If that's the lowest point on the way to figuring this stuff out, then I'll take it. I'd rather do that than step back onto a path that I know is not right for me, that I know will end up making me more insecure. It will be a slippery slope. It will be difficult to get out of it again. It feels like I would just step back into just wearing my golden handcuffs if I did that. So at this point, I am really confident that I'm not going to do that. I'm going to find some other way. But it is a difficult time being here, not having figured it out, having really good friends and family challenge you on this stuff as if it's almost an insane approach. And I guess that how would they know what it's like to be in my shoes and making this decision, knowing that I wouldn't be able to balance it out, right? Then it would be just giving up on what I want. And that might not be the reality for them, right? So they're coming at me from their own perspective, thinking about how they would deal with it, with their competencies, with their personality type, all that. And doing a more balanced approach might be the right thing for them, but it's never really worked for me. It's always been kind of the extreme approach to things that have actually provided the results for me. And I think I just have to stick with that confidently rather than trying to find a middle ground for the sake of others, for the sake of being able to display stability and predictability. Whereas right now I just fully acknowledge that I can't display that because I don't have it. Like, that would be straight up a lie. I actually have no idea if the next couple months will be the period of time where I solve my financial struggles, or if it's going to be the time where I'm validated in the fact that I have no idea what it is that I'm doing and that I'm just trying a bunch of stuff and I'm hoping some of it sticks. I think regardless of what it actually is, I'll just have to go through that and I'll have to see what happens, and I have to just probably have a little faith and just lean on the fact that I'm sitting right here, 30 years old. It's not the first time I have been in a similar situation where I had problems that I hadn't figured out, but I figured all of them out. I'm still sitting here, and I've done fairly well for myself, even though my path hasn't been straight or even resembling that. So I think this, when I'm looking back in a couple of years, I think this will be a point in time where it makes sense, or what I did was the right thing and I can see why and things worked out. That's just going to be a future me looking back at this very moment, maybe looking back at this very video here and realizing that I didn't know at this time that it was going to be all right, but I just had to believe that it would. So that's what I'm choosing to do, choosing to believe that it's going to be okay, and that if I follow what's in my heart, that will guide me to the place I have to go, even if that's a more difficult place with more challenges, if it's a better place with less. I don't really care. I think it's the path I have to walk, and I have to learn something on the way. So I think that's the process. It's what I have to do. And then I'm sure that things will make sense to my friends and to my family in hindsight as well, because it will just have to. It always does, right? It always makes sense. We might not agree, we might not want to do it the same way, but it always makes sense in hindsight why we did what we do, and I'm counting on that to be the case here as well. I just have to be patient and keep pushing and putting myself out there, keep trying new things. So yeah, this is what I'm trying currently, and just to make it very clear what I think will be the solution, I have been coaching really cool guys, founders, since the end of last year, and I've done it kind of just organically. It's been people I know, people who found me, people I've met in real life. And this content here is what I'm trying to push out to find more men like that. And to make it even easier, I have kind of packaged a coaching sprint I'm calling the Crossroads, that is targeting a man who is at a crossroads in his life, facing a really big decision, a pivotal moment, and also a man that hasn't really figured out which way is the right way yet, and who knows that there is a decision to be made, but he can't figure out how to make it. And so if that's you, or if that's anyone you know, the Crossroads is a 5-week coaching sprint where we first figure out exactly what is the right question. What is it that you're struggling with? Not necessarily the thing you think it is, but what's underneath that? What's the real question? Maybe you found it, maybe you haven't. We make sure that you will. And when you do that, we will go through figuring out what all the different aspects are. We will do different exercises to help you get perspectives, to help you visualize what's at the end of each path, and figure out how that aligns with your values, with how you dream of living your life. And then we'll make it easy for you to understand what the right steps are towards making this decision. And when you've made it, what's the next steps? And by the end of the 5 weeks, I am confident that you will have made your decision and you will have taken the first steps. And I'm even so confident that I'm making a guarantee, right? If you, by the end of the 5 weeks, have been to all the sessions, have done the homework in between, and you come out on the other side and you're not clear on what decision to make, then we can either continue for 4 more weeks on me, no additional cost, or I'm going to refund you in full. That's my promise, that's the guarantee, right? I don't want to take your money if the work I delivered didn't provide the value that I wanted it to. So with that said, this sprint is going to be 7,500 kroners for the first 5 people. That's around 1,000 euros. And the prize will rise after the first 5 people. This is a founding member prize only. And I believe that the Crossroads could be pivotal for men in the position that I was in last year, where I was struggling so much with figuring out how do I put myself in a place where I can actually become the man that I know I have the potential to be. I didn't know what the underlying question was. I had been asking the wrong questions for 5 years, and by the end of realizing that, the only answer I had to the wrong question was that I knew that this path is not the one I'm meant to go on. I didn't really know which path was, but I just acknowledged that if I know that this path is not right, the most logical thing to do is to step out of that path and then go explore different paths. As long as I'm walking on a wrong path, I'm not finding where I'm meant to go. And so that was what I did without having much clarity about which path to choose. And I think if I had had some help from someone who could guide me in that process, could challenge me, could give me perspectives, could ask the right questions, and make sure that I reflect upon the right things, I think I could have either made a leap that was straight onto another path that was way more efficient, or I could have come to that conclusion maybe 3 years earlier. But I didn't, and it took a lot of time, and that has a major opportunity cost. Because imagine if I had been practicing my facilitation and coaching for the past 3 years, the past 5 years, who knows where I would have been at right now. Like, I can't even begin to imagine that. And it's not that I'm not grateful for those 5 years. I've learned so much, and I honestly, I don't feel like I would be without them. But in terms of getting to your designated path faster, because then you have more leverage and you can move further down that path, I think that's just worth infinitely more than what I have been able to take away from the past 3 or 4 years, maybe even 5. So that's the offer I'm making. I want to help with this process. I want to help ambitious men figure out where they're meant to be, figure out the big decision keeping them up at night. I really strongly believe that I can facilitate that process, and I have done that with some of the guys that I'm currently coaching. So I think next step is on you. If any of this resonates at all, I think we should have a talk. And there's no commitment, and there's a full guarantee. So let's just have a talk. Can't hurt. And I'm only going to take in men that I feel very certain that I can help. So if you need something else that I can't provide, I'm not going to take you in and take your money, even though I'm giving the guarantee. So we'll figure out if there's a fit first. That's the most important first step. And then we'll do the work if both of us believe that we have a fit. So I think that's the situation I'm in. That's the solution to the problem. And now we'll just have to see how the world responds. So if you're sitting at the end of this video and you're either relating to what I'm saying, then reach out. Or if you know someone, if you know a man who is struggling with something, a big decision, a pivotal moment, point him in my direction. I'll be happy to reach out to him. You can even just tell him about me, and we'll see what comes out on the other end. For now, I'm just going to continue making videos, continue getting out there, and continue to share my story, share my learnings, and then we'll just see what the world has in store for me here. All right, thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.